So good afternoon, all. It's 1 o'clock somewhere, so we'll get underway here at our council meeting for April 6th, 2025. Councillor DeBreen, I believe you're on tap to do the land acknowledgement, please.
Good afternoon. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the Haudenosaunee, and the Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse people.
Thank you, Barb. Madam Clerk, is there anybody registered for open forum?
Yes, Mayor Milne, we have a few today. First is Rob Stovall of Cox Construction.
Okay.
He
Welcome,
is
Mr.
joining online.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Stovall. The floor is yours, sir.
Afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff. Rob Stovall here, Stovall Associates, representing Cox Construction. I'm just here to answer any questions that council or staff might have regarding the proposed agreement. If there is anything that you're wondering about that I don't have an answer for, I'll have to go back to the folks from Cox, and I'll endeavor to get back to you as soon as I can. But I'm just here to be of assistance to council and staff in any way that I can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. When we get to the report, if we need some answers from you, we'll have a procedure to allow that, but we'll get to you if we need you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Madam Clerk?
Yes, next on my list, I have Lori Grine, if she wishes to speak. Just come up to the microphone, Lori, please. Thank you.
Welcome, Lori. The floor is yours.
Is the Cox representative hearing this?
Yes, you will.
Okay. Dennis and Lori Grind, my husband Dennis, and we live on the 14th of Southgate. Just a few things. One of my questions is, why were we, as neighbors of a gravel pit, not notified as to what was being presented to the township? And please don't tell me because the word temporary is in the writing. Have we as a society lost human decency to tell people what's going on? And I know there's media out there you're supposed to follow, but this is pretty serious stuff. We found out about it this morning at 7:30. Cox Pit on the north side of the 14th has lost the availability of the pit to have an asphalt facility. There is a reason why. There is a reason they cannot do asphalt on the north side. And I'm sure the reason is very, very good. So Cox walks across the road and requests that they put in an asphalt facility on the other side of the 14th. Always keep in mind, Southgate was voted by the people for the people. Council was not voted by the corporations. There must be a danger involved in a farm. If a farmer is saying no to an asphalt facility, there's got to be a good reason. So what good is an asphalt plant to Southgate? I think you need to do your due diligence before you sign on the dotted line. And if the gentleman from Cox, the representative, is listening, I'm sure years ago, when the Cox Pit opened, somewhere in the contract, it says, we will keep the grass mowed and we will keep the weeds down. I cannot ever remember seeing any type of a mower on that 14th to clean up the mess that's there. And I'd like it to be noted that I am going to be after you this year. Enough's enough. The weeds are 6 feet tall, at least. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lori.
It'd be nice to know temporary, just how long temporary is. Because you can go in and say 3 months, walk away for a week or two and come back and do another temporary. So I like it a little more defined on what temporary really means. Did we going to have this for 30 years? Like you can play this game back and forth all the time. And I don't want to play that game.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Last person registered is Anson Lewis.
Welcome, Anson. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, I just thought I should come as a representative for Lewis's, just to put some clarification on some stuff. We are in a formal agreement with Cox's, been in a lease for them for 14 years, going on 15 years. And then we have 5 more years in the lease, and the lease will be expired with them, and we'll be up to negotiation to do it again. So just I'll put some timelines onto what it is. Since Cox's did approach us about putting the asphalt plant on our property, and we said no, we didn't want that in our area. And then understand they would approach you guys and went across the road. One part, and we're talking on both sides of the mouth, because yes, we are going to see a financial benefit of this happening, because they are going to. None of the gravel that's been extracted so far is Lewis's. So to make sure some people aren't aware in the township here, the 50 acres that's there right now is Mulmar or Cox Construction. No part of that is Lewis's. We've never seen any financial compensation whatsoever for gravel ever. Okay, this year they are going to start extraction from our place. Not probably for choice, but because they got forced to follow their official plan. So they're coming to our side to take gravel out. But I don't think one thing that Lewis is Stan, we can appreciate that if there's a deal done with Cox's to have the asphalt plant over there and you guys are going to be compensated. I don't think it is fair that Cox's are, because the township has chose to, if votes to allow this, you put traffic onto our property and not onto the township property. So all the asphalt, we said no, because we didn't want the extra traffic. We didn't want the extra burden on our property. But now when it goes to township pit, because of the haul route, because your 14th isn't up to grade, it's going to come out our driveway. Now they have made concessions and they've moved the driveway so that the in traffic will come away from the buildings. Yes, and we are very appreciative of what they've done there, but we still are going to have the extra traffic. So I just think maybe that there should have been more research put into this before a decision has got to this point from the township. And I agree with Dennis and Lori on the temporary state, because that's one of the hookups we get on there is temporary. In the definition, temporary is for a limited time. Like a temp is a limited fill-in for a person that's on maternity leave. So is it 6 months? Is it 8 months? Is it 2 years? I'm pretty sure that plant over there has been over there 20 years. That's not temporary. So if it's 2 years, 5 years, I think you guys need to define that and share with the public what you're doing, because it is, one thing that sticks in my mind, and we discussed it when my daughter was in daycare, when the asphalt plant was there before. I went to pick her up from daycare and all the kids from the school were inside. Why were they inside? Because the asphalt plant stunk so bad. So I just think there should have been a little more research done to this. I'm not saying I'm against it, but I still think the public should have been consulted, and there maybe should have been some concessions before the decisions made. We need asphalt. You guys need asphalt. I want my roads paved. I want the 14th paved. I want the bridges upgraded, but that's not where we're here today. But I mean, you know what I mean? Like it all needs to happen. We need gravel. I just think that everybody needs to work together a little better. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, sir. That's everyone. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and your comments. We appreciate you coming to share your thoughts with us. Okay, moving on. Confirmation of the agenda. Be it resolved, the council confirm the agenda as presented. Someone care to move that? Jason, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest related to any item on today's agenda? Okay, not seeing any. If one should arise, of course, you can declare it at any time. There are no delegations or presentations. Adoption of the minutes of the April 3rd meeting, council and open and closed sessions. Someone, Barb will move, seconded by Joan. Thank you so much. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Reports of municipal officers, Public Works Department is first, and we'll get right into it with the Cox Asphalt Plant Agreement. And I think, John, you're here to represent that report. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, this is just a report, bringing forward the formal agreement between the Township of Southgate and Cox's, for council's either approval or denial for the, relocation of the Cox's, portable asphalt plant to our gravel pit. The term of the contract is for 5 years, but it can be ended at any time if they don't meet the terms of the contract. In place of them putting it there, they will do approximately $70,000 worth of work in our gravel pit for us, either extracting or stripping or rehabilitation. The rest of it's pretty well laid out there if you guys have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. So just so we understand, the agreement is for 5 years.
5
correct?
years, yes.
So that makes it clear what temporary in this case means 5 years. Okay, any other questions from council? Jim, please.
The school, I opposed it when it was brought up. No. Oh, there it goes. Thanks. I was opposed to it. The school is a big issue with me. 70 grand for 5 years. I don't see the value in it for the township, us providing a big company like Cox a spot to work out of. I honestly, I see no benefit for us in it.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
John.
I did neglect to get a mover and a seconder, so I'll just jump in here and do that. Someone care to move this motion, please? Support of the recommendation.
Move it.
Thank you. By Barb, seconder. No one's gonna, Jason will second it. Thank you so much. John, please. You were going to respond. Did you have a response to Jim's comments?
Yeah, so it's 70,000 a year over the 5 years, and that's at today's equipment rental rates that could go up over time, but yeah, other than that, I don't think there's much else of a question there.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions? Jason,
So the 70,000 a year, I'm not per year?
Yes.
It's not what they're paying.
I thought with the first time we talked, it was just rehabilitation, but now it's stripping and
So there's just to be more efficient with how we're working in the gravel pit, there's spots in the floor that we can extract gravel out and then fill back in. And basically we want to finish extracting from the west end of the gravel pit and then start at the west end and just progressively work east. So that's why we worded it as stripping or extraction or rehab, whatever work we need done that year.
go ahead.
yeah, when we heard this first in February, I guess guess I'll allude to what Anson said. We all want good roads, and I push roads more than anybody. But I kind of in Jim's camp now. I don't know if it's well, and I feel for the neighbors too. Like I think we don't have to the way we didn't have to have a public meeting, right?
No, so it was part of the operational plan of the gravel pit for one to be allowed in there.
right.
So that's why there was no open house.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, Cox is a big company. If you told me they're going to pave 20 miles for us this summer, I'll have my hand as high as anybody to support it. But I'm just not sure we're getting enough out of it either. The traffic, I know that's not a very busy road, but I think I brought up last time the insurance, like that many trucks crossing that road and coming out of our pit, I'm a little nervous what, you know, if there's a crash or something. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Jim, I think was one.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Joan, I see your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know I did brought up something about traffic, and I also see that we're required to do the rehabilitation when the pits run out. It's a requirement of the Aggregate Act. I have also looked at the covenant, and I think it's 3.2 or 3.1, where the township may terminate this agreement by giving written notice. But I am also weighing a bit if we could probably get some more information, like maybe not make a decision today so we can get some more information about what the resident just said, or if there's anything more that we could add to this. I just thinking off the bat, more of a comment than a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Although I will ask you, is there any specific information that you're looking for? Just staff, you know.
Yeah, just like what the last gentleman that spoke, he spoke about getting some more work done, getting more information as to how it's going to be done. He spoke about the smell. Jim is concerned about the school. Jim, is that your only concern? Just few things. I mean, Jason, Councillor Rice speak about the traffic, but then he's not too sure. So can we come up with some concrete concerns as to why we shouldn't or why we should? I
Okay.
guess myself need to do some more research to get some better questions.
Okay, thank you, Joan.
Thank
Jim, did you have some comments you wanted to make? Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, good people. We've did our homework on this somewhat, and we presented that to council as well. In a minute, I'll let Ken address, excuse me, the zoning, that process has been followed. The pit operation licenses allow this to happen. We've confirmed with MNRF that everything is doable with the current operations. We would each put in new entrance across from one another on 14, that truck traffic would travel across the road to the north and then head out. And the reason being the scales there. Grey County also commented as well. They had no concerns with that approach and the extra traffic on 109. Excuse me. We've looked at the benefits of the rehab work that is, you know, work that we need to do and progressing towards. We also hopefully have a benefit down the road with pricing and being local to the area for our needs. So hopefully that there could be more benefit in asphalt pricing. We also had talked with our own aggregate consultant of anything that was needed to be done about any other things with our license. There's no concerns. Everything's in place. The one thing about delaying this, though, it would be maybe a little bit more time conservative to Cox with the asphalt season approaching to get set up or wherever they're going to be probably. So it is time sensitive in a way right now at this point in time, but understand that if council, we've done most of our homework. The report pretty much tells so. So I'll maybe let Ken talk about the other process with planning and zoning and how that aspect played out.
Thank you, Jim. Ken?
Good afternoon, your worship, members of council. Through you, just to elaborate on what Jim is speaking to, there's what's known as an as of right use in the zoning bylaw. So when you look at a specific zone, you see certain uses are listed. So an example would be an agricultural use is a permitted use in the A1 agricultural zone. That makes sense, right? But there's also a provision under the general rules of most zoning bylaws, which is what's called uses allowed in all zones. And that's where you will find certain kinds of utilities and infrastructure uses get enabled in all zones. And much like every other municipality around us, in our zoning bylaw, we have a provision that does exactly what this proposal would require or would achieve as of right. It's allowed in any zone because it is tied to work that's occurring with the township or the county or the province or the federal government or designated utilities like Hydro One and other things like that. And it falls within the bounds of that description, which is why there is no rezoning or public process required, because it falls within that permitted use in all zones.
Thank you, Ken. Any further questions or discussion? Martin, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just looking at the Schedule B haul route, excuse me. And Mr. Ellis, Mr. Lewis said that they didn't want them driving on their portion. Could they, and Jim just mentioned something about scales, could they not go out 14, come off their gravel pit and just go up the 14th instead of doing, or is that the most feasible? Because it sounds like Mr. Lewis didn't want them there years ago, and he doesn't want them driving on that way out now. So is there some way we can just keep it on the 14th? I don't know who to
John?
ask that to, but
Yep, I'll direct it to John.
So if we did that, we would have had to basically reconstruct the intersection of Southgate Road 14 and Gray Road 109 just because of sightline issues.
That was one of the issues that the county had with that intersection. The sight lines make it problematic to bring big, large vehicles out onto the road there. The Lewis driveway, if you're familiar with it, has basically unlimited sight lines, so that makes it far safer to come out there from a safety standpoint anyway. Any other questions? Barb, go ahead, please. Oh yeah, Jim, sorry.
No, that's all right.
I'll come to you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you. And thanks for the report and all of the questions. I guess the benefits to the municipality and to the county are that we'll get a value of, we're not being paid $70,000 a year. It's a estimated value to us for the stripping, extraction, rehabilitation. The benefit or potential benefit for having asphalt local to our needs. I know the county has a few projects right here in Southgate that they're planning to do along Gray Road 9, and we're all, eager to improve our roadways. But I guess and to Ken's point, if it's of municipal or provincial significance, it is as of right, is what you're saying, is that I can't open up an asphalt plant on my property to pave my driveway. But if it's provincially or municipal benefiting, then thank you for that, because I didn't know that. I guess my concern is that the Cox pit that they're going to be driving through onto the Lewis property, who owns the driveway? Because if the property owner doesn't want this, is saying no, can they deny access? Then we may as well not be having the conversation. So I'm wondering how we can dictate that they can go through another person's property if it's not a desirable use for them.
So the driveway is on Lewis's farm, and I'm not sure the agreement that Cox has with Lewis's for the usage of the lane. So that would be more question for Rob or Anson probably.
To get that answer, we're going to have to waive procedure. If I ask Mr. Stovall to speak to that question, does council want to do that? Yeah? Okay, somebody move that we waive procedure. Jason, seconded by Jim, that we waive procedure to allow Mr. Stovall to address questions related to this report. Is that how you'd like that worded, Madam Clerk? Okay, I have, sorry, go
Can
ahead.
we add Anson in there too, if he knows more about the agreement than Mr. Stovall? Maybe, I don't know, or just one.
Madam Clerk,
Yeah, that's fine. That's up to council if they'd like to add both.
do you want to
No,
add
just
that?
so we-
Yeah.
yeah.
No, do you want to add
Yeah,
that to
yeah,
your motion?
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to leave it to Mr. Lewis whether he wishes to speak or not, but certainly the motion will allow that to happen if he so chooses. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to waive procedure? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Okay. Mr. Stovall, did you hear the essence of the question?
Yes, sir.
Can you answer it, please?
I don't have all the facts, but the facts that I know are that Cox owns the license at their property. I call it the Holstein pit, but you know, the old Aiken farm. And they also are the licensees on the license on the Lewis property. And the entrance on the Lewis property was designed and approved to handle trucks for the pit, for the license pit, for both properties. So it's our understanding that trucks coming from those two licenses would use that main access onto the county road, over the scales and onto the county road. That's been the practice. That's my understanding. That was the intent. That's the way the license has been developed. Having said that, I don't know what the agreement is between Cox and Mr. Lewis. I'd have to review it, but I just know what the legal site plan says.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Mr. Lewis, do you want to add anything to that? You don't have to. I'm just asking. Come up to the microphone, please. Sorry.
Yeah, he is correct. It's part of the license to use the driveway. And again, we're not here to, as Lewis is not here, because I said we're getting financial benefit by them being there.
Yep.
But I mean, yes, it is part of the license that it come out the driveway. And I guess it was just our stance that the extra traffic because of the asphalt plant isn't something that we wanted. And that's where I was saying that the township added that traffic come there. I personally think, and this is, I don't know if I'm allowed to speak freely, is the 14th with the township pit, the proposed Reeves pit, and the Cox pit. I don't understand why the township wouldn't upgrade that intersection to make that road more beneficial to that stuff instead of uploading it onto a private citizen to take care of it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Any other questions? Jim, sorry, come.
So Jim, you had said we have to upgrade our laneway to come out, and Cox's will be upgrading theirs. There's a couple, but I'll let you answer.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, we would both do a site plan amendment that's now a little bit more fast tracked with just a written amendment submitted, and turnarounds fairly quick, but establish an entrance across from each other that to travel back and forth between the two properties on 14, across 14. That amendment would be paid for by Cox. We do have some preliminary work done by our consultant on the amendment. So that's what that is based on, yes.
Okay. And the other thing I was wondering is the hours of operation. I know they had said the last time that they wouldn't be firing up at an asphalt plant till 7 a.m, but having worked on a paving crew, you are probably already trying to be paving by 6. So I don't know how they're starting up a paving plant at 7 in the morning when you're wanting to be, paving at 6 or by 7.
Well,
I guess that'd be for Rob.
well, or Rob or John, but I would suggest from the chair that if the agreement says they're going to start at 7 and they start at 6, they're in breach of the contract. The agreement. Simple as that.
There's just a few, there's a lot of unanswered, with the compensation, it's equal to 2 weeks of work is how it's worded in here. There's no real, this is what the stuff is. And you may get do we know if the county Cox has the contract with the county on 9?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
It was awarded a week and a half ago.
all right. But this is Southgate bid.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Do you have any other questions? Specifically, you pointed, or John, do you want to respond? Please.
Oh, just to the 2 weeks worth of work. It's basically going to be excavator, 2 rock trucks and a dozer, or a similar, costing of equipment. We didn't want to hammer down that it had to be specifically that if, we didn't need a dozer, but 2 excavators or whatnot. But that's the understanding, is that will be that caliber of equipment, for lack of a better word.
Thank you, John. Anything else, Jim, for now? Oh, Jim, main Jim.
Yeah.
Please.
So to address hours of operation, our pit is operating from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they cannot start that process earlier. I note on the Holstein pit across the road that Cox owns, it's a 6 a.m. start, but our pit is 7 a.m. on our license. So those rules have to be followed, or the ministry would be also on them as well. So I just also want to add too that this agreement has been legally reviewed by our lawyer and done with a fine tooth comb and submitted back to Cox for their comment, which there was nothing. And again, in the Section 5 area, there's all the insurance information that Cox provides for liability and automobile and environmental. All those components are there.
And that insurance that they've provided includes the crossing of the road, indemnifies the township?
Yes.
Yep. To an earlier point. Thank you. Barb.
Thank you. And just additionally that I had on my list, both entrances are being upgraded. We'll do one, they'll do there, but at the expense of Cox. The legal and administrative changes to the license, any operations, any changes is at the expense of Cox. This is a no cost to the township, but a benefit in kind to the tune of about $70,000 a year, plus potential savings because the asphalt is local. My biggest concern is the laneway that is in controversy with the landowner that the Lewises that didn't want the 40 trucks a day going through that laneway. I would suggest then that is something Cox needs to work out with the Lewises before we enter into an agreement to allow for the asphalt plant. One question is, when you say temporary, the agreement is 5 years. We can cancel it at any time, but the operation of the asphalt plant, the portable plant, is temporary. What is the window? And maybe Mr. Stovall can speak to this, or John. When or how long, through what period of time would the asphalt processing plant be in operation?
So it can only be in operation for the length of contracts they have for road work, asphalt coming out of that plant. Yeah.
So it could be all
Yeah.
summer, all
Jim?
season.
Yeah, that, as long as it's municipal or MTO or county work, they can't be going out and paving driveways and making asphalt, and producing it for that. But any municipal work, portable means that there will be no permanent footings poured, no concrete poured. Anything that they bring in will be portable and removable. So also with the M&R discussions was that they recognize that the season will end, and it doesn't mean that the equipment gets pulled out for the winter and then comes back in for the spring. It wouldn't be in downtime, and with contracts coming up again for those type of government road projects, then that is considered to still be portable and temporary.
Any other questions? Monica, go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody, or sorry, rather, afternoon. So just a quick question. Can the Township of Southgate come out of this or terminate early if there are like a lot of concerns that will come up before the 5 years?
John? Please.
Or
know.
reassess? Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. I think so. Yeah, I honestly can't answer that one. Jim, do you?
Jim?
Yeah, there's termination clauses in here for both parties that they can enter in with the sufficient time that's allotted. I'll have to look it up here, but it'll be here.
So the short answer is yes.
Oh, okay, and I just had a follow-up to
Go
that.
ahead. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I just concur with the recent sentiment or statement, like with regards to the Lewises. May I just kindly ask the Lewises, or do we know how long they lived on that property?
I'm not sure what relevance that is, but as long as Anson's been alive, which is probably you're what, 25, 26? 50 years at least.
Thank you for that. I think it's significant because before we proceed as well, I want to just respectfully acknowledge that the residents have been living there for so long. I understand all the discussion about the gravel pit. Would there be a possibility to have a resident impact map in terms of just looking at if there are any other nearby properties or access haul routes or distance from the plant? I know we already have some of that information, but I too am uncomfortable with the Lewises not being fully consulted, or if they were or not, but I heard what they have to say, and we put our own, feet in their shoes. How would we feel? And I think that there would be a merit to having possible. Do we have a resident impact map? Do we do that?
Not that I'm aware of, but Mr. Lewis has indicated he'd like to respond to your question, so I'll ask him to come up and respond, please.
Is it on? Is it on? Okay, I guess it's a difficult situation for us because I got to read it again. We are getting financially compensated for being there, and we did a legal agreement 20 years ago for the driveway. We understand that. I guess we never foresee the terms of this expanding beyond our profit, our property to somebody else's. So we are in agreement. We're in a legally binding agreement with Mulmar or Cox's. We have to abide by the rules. I guess my whole thing is that I feel that the township and a little bit Cox's, which is a little bit of the reason why I'm here, because I'm a little sour how they jumped over us, because they were actively negotiating with us to try and get this in there to compensate us to do it, because we would have had to vacate our residence, okay, for this to go. That's the distance of there. We would have to vacate our residence for them to put it there. So we said we couldn't come up with a number, so they went to you guys. Well, they went to you guys before they even were done negotiating with us. So I guess they had a backup plan. I understand a business is business, but we do have an agreement with the driveway, and we are in an operating agreement with Cox's right now, and things will not change and we cannot change it. We cannot stop it. We've seek legal advice to see if we can stop them going to the driveway. We cannot. But I guess as a Lewis, I'm just saying the township probably should have done a little more due diligence to bring them across that road, because I don't think that the benefit to the neighbors in the community of them driving across that road with the heavy rock traffic across that road, across the 14th, where you're going to have to stop every time you come to that road to go up a hill, down a hill in there, which will probably be hundreds, but it'll be 50 or better loads a day to go across that road, probably in asphalt time or more. It might be hundreds in a busy time. I don't know if it's fair.
Well,
Just saying, I'm
significant.
saying, but the legally, Cox and Lewis are in an agreement we cannot separate from for 5 years at this point.
Okay, thanks, Anson. Does that answer your questions, Monica?
Yes, I'm still, I would appreciate if there was a way to have a clear public communication plan. And also, I think we have an understanding of what the in-kind work being provided would look like, but if there could be a little bit more thoroughness in that, and also how we could do any kind of reassess or take corrective steps if issues like noise, dust, and access disruption arise. So yes, we have more questions. Yeah, I'm just a little bit on the fence for this one.
Okay, thank you. Barb.
So as Councillor John had mentioned, the term of Section 3 talks about the termination, the ability to terminate earlier, and 3.3, termination or expiration of this agreement will be without prejudice to any rights, remedies, or obligations of the parties accrued under this agreement prior to termination or expiration. So, depending on what those aspects are. Cox is going to continue operating the pit on the Lewis, like at the next to and with the agreement of the laneway. The gravel's still going to come and go. What's in question is whether or not the trucks cross Southgate Road 14 or stop to turn onto Southgate Road 14, and whether or not the county and Southgate can mitigate the sight lines sufficiently at that intersection, and at what cost. So, if this is the opportunity to upgrade that intersection, then you have, then that would be, at Cox's expense as well. But we're getting down to the wire, and I think at this point there's still too many questions that Cox needs to resolve with regard to the haul route. So I would move that we refer this back to staff and pending more information or satisfactory agreement between Cox and the Lewises.
Well, just before I take that motion, I would ask, what specific information are we going to ask staff to bring back? Like, what questions have we not already answered in the report?
Could the haul route actually be changed to go out to 109 along Southgate Road 14, and the road and intersection sightlines upgraded adequately to address the questions that are coming forward, to avoid the conflict between the Cox pit, the Mulmer pit, and the Lewis's agreement for the laneway? That is something between the Lewises and Mulmer Cox, in my opinion. And those would be the two major concerns at this point in time.
Okay.
And to the other points is, the odors involved during the construction season when the school is in. When the school is out, not so much of an issue.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder to refer this back to staff for more information? Joan, are you seconding that? Yes, you are. Okay, thank you very much. So on the motion to refer back to staff for more information, is there any more questions or discussion? Joan, go ahead, please.
Sorry, sir. I had my hand up for a while. Before Barbara said, I was just gonna direct Councillor Singh Soares to the covenants and help our CAO to find where the termination agreement was, because that's a great part of it, that there should be a termination agreement of some sort that we could get back to if things are not going that way. That's it. And I was just about to agree with Deputy Mayor that we get the answers, correct answers from the Lewises about the use of their driveways and all those little nuances together before we come to a decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further discussion or questions on the motion to refer? Jim, please.
Yeah, if I can just add, well, 3.1 says about 10 business days for termination. We can submit that if needed. They will have to follow, they have their operation for their licensed area through the ARA license. The portable asphalt plant also has an environmental compliance approval. So that environmental compliance approval speaks to odors, noise, and all those things. So if those things weren't being followed, then the ministry would be enforcing those issues on the construction company as well. So that intersection at 109 and Gray Road 14, that is not under our control. That would be county's work to be done, not ours. It's not in our control. So what I see happening, if it currently stands the way it is that the trucks would have to go, they have to go get scaled. So they've got to go into Lewis's somehow and then come back out whichever way they're going to go, unless they're going to plan to move the scale somewhere. So you're creating a different traffic pattern within internal, maybe external. I don't know. But anyways, some of these answers maybe we can't get. I'm not sure if we can get to the bottom of what the Cox-Lewis agreement is about the roadway, the driveway entrance, other than it's on the operational plans that's the haul route for that extraction area. So.
Thank you, Jim. And I would concur that really the agreement between the Lewis family and Cox Construction on that driveway, the township has no jurisdiction there. Madam Clerk, and then I have Jason.
I just want to say in the referral motion, I'm referring the staff report and the bylaw. I have them both in there.
Yep. Very good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jason?
So are we only still talking about the referral
Yep,
motion?
at this
Okay,
point.
well, if we're going to refer it, should we not?
If there's more information you're looking for, now would be the good time to bring it out because
Well, I'm just saying,
help
should we,
staff.
if we're going to refer it to try to find out more stuff, are we going to talk about that after we pass the motion, what we want to?
what I'd like to know now is what do you want to know more than what's in the report so that staff, when they bring,
Oh, I see. Okay.
More.
Oh, yeah. I'm still stuck on the temporary thing. Like 5 years, I get they put that in there. It's a long thing. Temporary to me would be a year. You guys said the county have approved a big paving project. Well, I don't think there's too many projects approved for 2 years ahead of time. Maybe Cox won't get none of the RFPs 2 years down the road. I'm just saying temporary, if it was just a year, I think I'd have no problem with it. But temporary seems like 5 years seems like a long time for temporary when they don't know. I don't think they know how they're going to, how the contracts they're going to get down the road. So I get, it's a lot closer and everything. And I'm the last guy that's environmentalist, but it sounds like a lot of trucks going back and forth that probably wouldn't have to. So I don't know. It just temporary. 5 years seems like a lot to me to be temporary.
okay. Madam Clerk, please.
If you'd like me to read the motion.
Please.
So I have it, be it resolved that council refer staff report and bylaw for further investigation about the haul route, temporary placement of the plant and general concerns expressed with the agreement with Cox Construction and report to council with further information. Does that cover it?
Does that capture everyone's concerns for now, at least? Sounds like it does. There's no objections. So I'm going to call the vote on the motion to refer back to staff. All those in favor? That is carried. So that refers both the report and the bylaw. Very good. All right. Moving on, we have a closed meeting to discuss, well, I'll read the motion here. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at, I don't know, what is it? 1:48 being, in order to address matters relating. Thank you, folks, for coming. Thank you so much. relating to advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, specifically an enforcement matter, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically an HR update, and that all those required remain in attendance. Would someone please move that, please? Jim and Barb will second. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. We will proceed into the All right. We'll bring the meeting back to order. I can confirm that we only discussed in closed session those matters that were listed on the closed meeting agenda. Moving on to reports of municipal officers, we'll start with building and bylaw services. And the first report is regarding canine control inspection cost recovery follow-up report. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Martin will move. Jim will second. Who's taking that report? Ken, please go ahead.
Thank you, your worship. This is just a follow-up report from our discussion last council meeting. As council will recall, with the decision on the canine support contract, there was a suggestion to add cost recovery of kennels. One of the concern was we didn't have a number of what that would be. So we did some analysis and we thought the best way to deal with this, depending on the circumstances, is if your inspection reached a cost point of $200, that would be your top end. If it ended up being such that the staff time and expenses came to $80, then that's what you'll be charged. So 200 is the absolute max that would be subject to cost recovery.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken.
And I would just note that once again, this is not about trying to make the whole program cost recoverable, since we still don't have that direction.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything to add, Phil? No? Okay, good. Any questions from council? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw to amend the fees and charges to reflect the preceding report. The max $200 cost to inspect a kennel. Jim will move. Who would like to second that? Joan will second. Thank you, Joan. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to the bylaw, which will enact all of the preceding items. I need a mover and seconder for that bylaw. Jim and Jason, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Ken. Oh, guess we're still going to be talking with you though regarding planning. So first is the zoning bylaw amendment for Norman and Salome Martin. Actually, Victoria's going to do that. Excellent. But I need a mover and seconder first though. First, Jim, and who would like to second that? Barb will second. Victoria, please go ahead. I'm used to you sitting over here, Victoria. Sorry.
And I'm displaced today.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay, so for this application, the applicant is requesting rezoning. They want to relocate an existing OFDU. It's under A1 446. They'd like to move it closer to Ida Street for efficiency within the farm cluster. They would also be asking to reduce the rezoned area from about 4,750 square meters to about 1,900 square meters. It's under exception A1 446. It also, the previous OFDU did not go through site plan approval, so there are no buildings within that rezoned area. So they're proposing the increase to the permitted gross floor area of the buildings. So they're looking for from 250 square meters to 380 square meters. I just want to note that there's an error in staff's report. It's not 400 square meters in my report. It's 380 square meters. Apologies. This was following Grey County's recommendations. They asked that they decrease their originally proposed gross floor area and rezoned area from 2,000 to 1,900 and 400 square meters to 380 square meters. So they're looking to change the use or repurpose the use of the existing home industry, which is about 92 square meters, and then an existing agricultural shed, which is 260 square meters, and both would be converted for use as the OFDU. These buildings would also be repurposed for the small scale dry manufacturing shop. And there's about 640 square meters that are permitted in the zoned area. They'd like to reduce that as well to 270 square meters. And that would be located south to the proposed shop within the zoned area. And then some comments received are on page 4 of staff's report. Grey County, as I originally mentioned, they had some comments and asked that the applicant update the proposal to 380 square meters maximum gross floor area and 1,900 square meters for the rezoned area. They've updated accordingly since then, so had no further concerns. Township Public Works also indicated that a commercial paved entrance is required, but no other concerns from agencies or public were noted. And the zoned area is proposed closer. It serves, as I said, more efficient within the function of the existing farm cluster and is reduced in size to meet the county and township official plan policy, and also relocates it away from EP lands. There's also some heavy existing tree cover that surrounds the proposed zoned area on the site, which helps mitigate any offsite impacts from the OFDU and also maintains a distance of over 75 meters separation from any neighboring residences or sensitive uses, which is consistent with D6 guidelines. And a future site plan agreement will ensure compliance with D6 noise separation requirements and other site layout provisions such as parking and buffering. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions? Barb?
Thank you, and through you, thanks, Victoria. You answer all of the questions. I guess one question at the site plan stage, will there be a requirement or a condition that all openings be directed away from the neighboring properties? Because there are residential uses, they're moving closer, even though there's trees, it doesn't block sound. And we usually require that if there's a complaint that the openings be closed but when they develop or design the building, they direct them away from receptors.
Yeah, through you, it would be within the site plan agreement, and also they're required to follow D6 guidelines. So that's usually a requirement, as you said, to maintain any closed doors or windows. And also it's an existing use as a home industry, which already serves as a shop. So they would just repurpose that home industry for the shop and then use the agricultural shed. They'd repurpose that as well. And I believe that's all facing away from any residences.
Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Victoria. Moving on to the bylaw to enact the zoning bylaw amendment. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, and Jim will second. Any discussion on do you have anything to add on the bylaw, Victoria?
Nope, nothing further.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the zoning bylaw amendment application from Israel and Elizabeth Martin. Someone care to move that, please? Jason, and second by Martin. Thank you. Victoria?
Me again. So for this proposal, the applicant is asking to amend the existing zoning on the site under A1 exception 408, which was approved in 2018 and also permits an OFDU. So they're asking to change the use of the existing shop from metalworks to woodworking. They'd also like to increase the gross floor area of the shop to about 717 square meters and increase the outdoor storage area from 395 square meters to about 565 square meters. The applicant is also proposing the removal of zoning provision that limits the non-resident employees to 5 employees. So the maximum zoned area of 3,665 square meters for the OFDU, the existing tree buffer and the associated farmhouse, barn, and outbuildings would not change on the site. Some comments received for this file to note, again, are on page 4 of staff's report. To note, Grey County had no concerns, again, provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, which we see commonly within these OFDU applications. Township Public Works advised that there is a commercial paved entrance already on site, and the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority advised that a permit is not required, and also the Grand River Conservation Authority advised that the proposal development is outside of the regulated area. There was also some concern or discussion at public planning regarding the need for separate water supply, given the number of OFDUs within the area. Since the proposed use is to be dry industrial, there should not be high water demand. Independent water supply is also assessed at the building permit stage, depending on well production and the building and fire department review as well. So the proposed amendment to the existing zoning on site under exception A1408 would remain within the existing zoned area and will not impact the principal agricultural use of the land. The proposal will require an amendment to the existing site plan agreement and a building permit under the Ontario Building Code. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions from council? Barb? Martin, you go ahead first, please.
Thank you. Yeah, with what Veronica just said, excuse me, about the and the questions asked at the public planning about the fire and what have you. Just a question, you know, this is an industry going on here. The proposed lumber drying kilns, will all D6 guidelines be hooked onto like applied to them, and what kind of heating? I think that should be something that should be looked at by the fire department in their report. Is that going to be looked at by the fire department?
Through you, everything on site that's proposed would be assessed by the building department and the fire department during the building permit stage, yes.
Okay. Okay, Victoria, that's good. Yeah, that was my only concern question. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Barb?
Thank you. Through you to Victoria. We currently allow up to 750 square meters for the shop and power room and up to 500 square meters for outside storage. Or a combined total of, if I do the math, that would be 1,250. Correct? And you're currently proposing more than that, slightly more than that, less for the actual floor space, but more for outside storage. I'm not comfortable going over outside storage, I guess I can live with. My question at the public meeting about fire suppression, it wasn't about fire use for the dry manufacturing. It was about the ability to, for our fire department to access water in the event of a fire. And those are fire, what do you call them? They're
Reservoirs?
Water reservoirs that they put in place that the fire department can use. My question was, is it required being so close to Dundalk? It's not like it's out in the middle of Southgate where there might not be access to water. That was my question about fire suppression. And I believe you answered that in that the fire department and the building department would be consulted on whether or not that was a requirement. So I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Any further questions? Derek, I see you put your camera on. Did you want to respond in there? Or?
I think it was covered pretty well. Just that the building code has a requirement for size and type of application that would require a water reservoir at a certain point. So that all gets looked at when they actually apply for a building permit. And before they get occupancy, they have to meet all that requirements.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw that will enact the zoning amendment. Need a mover and seconder. Jim, seconded by Monica. Do you want to second that? Thank you. Any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Zoning bylaw amendment, and the next item is for Ian S. Martin. Someone care to move that, please? Jim, second by Joan. Thank you. Victoria, please.
Last one. So the applicant is proposing a rezoning to permit an OFDU for dry manufacturing woodworking. It will also include a zoned area of about 4,252 square meters, with about 625 square meter workshop, the power room, skid room, and 300 square meters of outdoor storage. Would also permit a small scale dry industrial works as an OFD with regulations to restrict the size of the rezoned area, gross floor area, and outdoor storage area to ensure the shop is secondary to the prime agricultural use on site. The OFDU and outdoor storage area will also be screened by existing heavily treed areas to the north. So some comments received to note are on page 4 of staff's report. Grey County advised that provided D6 guidelines can be addressed, the proposed actually maintains over a 300-meter separation to the nearest residence as well. It will be supported by provisions in the site plan agreement as well. County staff had no concerns. Township Public Works also indicated that a commercial paved entrance is required. And the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority advised that based on previous feedback, they did a floodplain study and EIS as well. They were required and reviewed. Both were deemed acceptable to staff and recommend that the hazard land designation and EP zones be revised to be made smaller and update the mapping, which is included in attachment 3 in staff's report. And again, there was some discussion at public planning raised for the potential need for separate water supply or the fire reservoirs on site. Fire department did provide comments and had no concerns regarding the site. The independent water supply is assessed at the building permit stage and is dependent on well production and then the building and fire department review as well. So the proposed OFDU on site complies with township and county official plans and should remain secondary to the principal agricultural use as encouraged by provincial policy and guidelines for the use of prime agricultural lands. MDS calculations as well are required for the proposed barn in the farm cluster will be provided at the building permit stage to ensure proper separation from any nearby sensitive uses. And a future site plan agreement will ensure compliance with D6 noise separation requirements and other layout provisions such as parking and buffering. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions from council? Barb?
Thank you. Through you. I note that there is no home. This is vacant land at the present time, and that the homeowner hopes to build in the fall of 2025 a house and barn. The requirement, I believe, is that it has to, there needs to be a residence there before the shop is erected. So that would be a requirement. Is that correct?
Yes, through you. We also kind of included some wording in the bylaw to make sure that it would remain secondary to the primary agricultural use, just to kind of ensure that that's covered as well for the OFDU itself. So it would be secondary, not to the primary use of the agricultural land. Yes.
Right. But my question is that the house and the agricultural use would have to pre-exist the building of the shop and the operation of the shop.
Through you. Yep, that's correct.
My other question through you to Victoria is, what is the primary agricultural use, given that I would say 90% of the property is EP?
It appears that it is cash crop on the land, and then they will be building a barn as well, I believe, for cows, for grazing, I think possibly, but also cash crop on the land. And they did do an EIS and a floodplain analysis as well for the SVCA.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the bylaw to enact the zoning amendment. Jim moves. Monica seconds. Any questions on the bylaw? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Veronica. Victoria, sorry. I'll get it right. Somebody must have said Veronica first because I had that in my head. I got it close, right? I mean, if anybody wasn't listening, they wouldn't have noticed, but I'm glad everybody noticed. I'm good. Okay. All right. At least I didn't call you like Tracy or something like that, right? Okay, moving on. Now that we've got the names sorted, the final report on the oh no, we've got others coming. Is the final capacity allocation agreement for Southgate Renewables. Someone need to move that, please? Joan will move and Martin will second. And do I see Bill's going to take this one? I got his name right. There we go. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, Mayor Milne. Thank you for that. Southgate Renewables has long proposed an anaerobic biodigester and the organic waste processing facility on the subject lands. Just over a year ago, council went through rezoning to apply the zoning that allows this use to the entire property. In December, council signed a site plan agreement with Southgate Renewables to proceed with this development. There was always a requirement that the holding provisions be removed, and that will be removed at council's direction in the next item. Part of the conditions to remove the holding is a development agreement that's worded. I think we talked about this before. When you say development agreement, that tends to apply to offsite servicing, and that's covered in the site plan agreement. But also they need to sign a final allocation agreement, and that's what's brought forward to you. The wording in that final allocation agreement is in accordance with your servicing policy. The water allocation is quite a bit higher than the 227 equivalent residential units. It's quite a bit higher than the sewage allocation, which is 3 cubic meters, because they will be using any sewage that is produced on the property for within the biodigester, and obviously there are other sources of material that will run that biodigester. The reason for the amending agreement that's coming forward or later was because they've changed the design of the project a little bit. I guess we could talk about that later, but just the final capacity allocation agreement would give them permission to use the allocation that has been requested under the previous development agreement. And this finalizes the terms for that.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions from council? Barb?
Thank you, and through you. And I'm not sure if Dustin is here for this report, and whether or not we would have to ask or waive procedure to. Oh, there's somebody there. Hi. Anyway,
Hi.
we would have to, if we need to have them respond, we can waive. I would move that we waive procedure. But 227 residential units. That's a subdivision. That's a subdivision. And I would need to have some assurances that application has been made to the ministry, and the ministry is just delayed in providing the permissions or approvals to use lagoon water. I don't think we ever discussed there being a requirement for so many residential water units. That's very expensive for Southgate Renewables, but it also eats up a significant portion of our capacity. And if approval isn't granted by the ministry, they continue to have, we can't withdraw the capacity. Like once it's given, it's given, or once it's taken, I have concern with regard to the residential water units that we're taking. Haven't had an issue, and I've been very supportive of moving it along through its process, but this is new and it kind of changes the rules a little bit. So I'm not sure, Bill, if you can respond, and if you feel Dustin can weigh in, I would move that we waive procedure.
Okay.
Yeah, I just very briefly, I went back and had a look at the previous reports, and then the exact number of units wasn't mentioned in the reports, it was in the site plan agreement in the appendices. So council would have had to look at that pretty closely. So we never really I think it was 175 cubic meters per day, which was listed in the previous agreement, which translates to 227. So we didn't have the ERUs in it before. So the deputy mayor is correct. When you put that in there, that does look like a lot of water. One of the things we've talked about all along is that there was arrangements in the works about using lagoon water, but we never had the specifics on that. So I think Dustin would be the best person to give further information on this allocation and whether it can be reduced in the future or just where it stands with lagoon water.
Okay, Dustin, before you start, I have to do a procedural thing here to allow you to talk. So I need a motion Barb's already made a motion to waive procedural. Just Jason seconds. Slow down, Brian. Any questions on the motion to waive procedure? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? This allows Dustin to participate. That is carried. Dustin, please.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, thank you. So as Bill had mentioned, it's 227 equivalent residential units. Whether or not the applicant has made the application to the ministry, I don't know. I know they've been in some discussions with them. And as you had noted, it would be in their best interest to do this, because that would be essentially sort of free water for their process. Whereas if they continue to use the 227 units, at our current billing rates, that would be upwards of $170,000 a year in water usage costs to them. So it certainly is in their best interest to deal with this. But whether or not they've had any feedback from the ministry, we would have to go to the applicant to see what that has been. I expect it not to be an issue. The lagoon is right there. The proximity is good. They did some preliminary testing of the water, and I think they found that it was suitable for their purpose. So that's about all I can really say on that at this point. How we move forward, I will leave it to the powers.
Okay. Thank you, Dustin. Barb, follow up.
Thank you. And as a follow-up, I do recall having the conversation and being concerned about the quantity of water being taken and whether or not there would be a requirement for a permit to take water. Now, that's something that as a provincial standard, I don't think it meets that threshold. But you're right, 170 cubic meters converted into residential units is a big eye opener. They don't quite have the same impact. So thank you for the explanation. I really would feel better knowing that application has been made and that it looks promising, as opposed to allocating 227 units. But I'll anybody else decide.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Joan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Dustin, you said even if you could clarify, even if the application is not being made and they really need 227 equivalent, do we have, that's what you just said, we have the capacity for it anyways?
Yeah. We so right now Dundalk has quite a bit of water capacity, and we are limited on our wastewater treatment capacity. So as Bill had mentioned, their process is going to use a lot of water, but it's not going to produce very much sewage. So we have the capacity to supply them that water. As I looked back, if we apply this to last year's available capacity, it would consume about 13% of our available capacity. So, that is the quantity, really.
Okay, Joan, good. Thank you. Any other questions? Jim?
Just, we've discussed in other planning reports or whatever that this consumption of this amount of water, 175 cubes per day, it has been spoken to with council a number of times. So as far as my understanding, we've seen the drawing for the concept for the piping for the lagoon waters to enter into their facilities. And my understanding is that ECA amendment has been submitted to the ministry for approval, but I don't know any other status right now.
Okay, Barb?
And I think it benefits both parties significantly, considering with the amount of snow and rain or overflow, if we can and I'm not, that would be a particular lagoon that would be going. And thank you, Jim, because knowing that application has been made or that they've got a design in place is comforting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Dustin. There might be more questions going along here. Maybe not. Regarding the bylaw to enact the final capacity servicing agreement. Moved by Jim, seconded by Jason. Thank you. Who wants, does anybody have any other staff on the bylaw? Nope. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, this is regarding the holding removal of Southgate Renewables on their site to allow them to go to the next step. Jim will move. Who will second? Monica will second that. Thank you. Who wants to speak to this? Jim or Ken?
Sorry, maybe I'll start, but simply, this is the final stage of the planning process for Southgate Renewables. This would lift the holding symbol and allow them to proceed to the building permit. So what this means is that all the conditions that were established to remove the hold have been satisfied. And I think that's outlined in Bill's report. So that's
very good. Thank you. Bill, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that was a perfect summary. Unless there's questions,
Don't encourage them. Any questions from council? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we have the bylaw to enact the removal of the hold. I need a mover. Jim, second. Martin, thank you. Discussion, if any? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Finance Department. We're getting down to the short strokes here. Tile drainage loan. Need a mover and a seconder to enact that. Barb and Jason. Who wants to do that report? Kayla, welcome.
Thank you. This is to do with the tile drain applications that we've received thus far, and there's 2 of them, and they're consolidated into one bylaw.
Okay, thank you. Are any questions regarding that report? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. On to the bylaw regarding those tile drain loans. Someone care to move that, please? Jason and Monica, thank you. Any questions on the bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Additional grant request regarding the Grandview Theater Company. We believe we had a delegation here 2 weeks ago regarding this. Someone care to move that, please? Martin and Barb, thank you. Kayla.
Thank you. Yes, we had a delegation for this, and after the delegation, an application was received, and the requested amount was $2,000. So that was staff's recommendation, since it would still leave funds in the community fund for 2025.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council? Not seeing any. Oh, Jason.
More of a comment. I mean, it was a good presentation and everything. And it seems like a pretty decent thing. It seems like a fairly high amount to me, just for something that's not just to our area, but I don't know. That was just a comment. It just seemed a little high compared to what we give some of the other organizations.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I thought it was a little high too, based on what we would have given to the food bank or whatnot. But I also have the question, is it going to be a yearly thing or is it just a one-time thing?
Kayla, do you know the answer to that question?
Through you, I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna guess it's a one-time deal.
Okay. All right.
But I don't know that. Any
figured.
other questions? Any other questions? No? Okay, Barb?
Thank you. And I'm trying to, I don't have the capacity to go back to the presentation, but I thought they originally had spoken about $500 in their presentation, and then to receive a request for 2,000. You know, you can ask for the moon and hope for the stars. I don't know, but-
Well, an
Kayla, are
amendment would
you-
be in order if needed.
Yes, and I would just was wondering if we could look back to their presentation, if there was a reference. I'd have to go back to my notes. Because they're here for a couple of days. I know that they've had a meeting recently at the Erskine Center, a roundtable. Martin's got his hand.
Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, wasn't the 500 for the chap from Eugenia for the walking
Yep,
bands?
yep. But we did that last week or 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Yeah.
If I may, Mayor Milne.
Yep, please.
This presentation was at the March 19th council meeting, not
Oh,
2 weeks
okay.
ago, just
Sorry.
of correction. In the agenda, there was a promotional video included and a link to their webpage. I don't see a
I don't
supplement-
recall an
like
amount myself,
supplemental
but
information about-
nonetheless, they've
Yeah.
asked for $2,000. If council would wish to change that, now would be the time. Please, Kayla.
Yes, I just wanted to add, they did apply for this under the grant part of the policy in order to run an event. So this would be similar to the Dundalk Dance Association and the Dundalk Agricultural Society applications, which were each $2,500.
Right. Okay, thank you for that, Kayla. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We have no bylaws and motions. Is there any notice of motion? No? Consent items are there. You can see in regular business, there are 4 items. Do any of those need to be removed for further discussion? Okay, I'd take a motion to accept the recommendations. Barb, second by Jim. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to correspondence consent. There's one item there regarding the minutes of the GRCA meeting of March 3rd. Someone care to move that, please? Joan, thank you. Seconder? Barb, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. No resolutions from other municipalities. We don't have another closed session. County report. Barb, do you have anything you want to note?
Yes, thank you. At the last council meeting, Dr. Era, the medical officer of health, spoke to council with regard to measles outbreaks. There were 2 cases. One was contained and the other one had made a visit to the emergency at the hospital. So there were contact tracing involved in that. And he did express the importance of vaccination in children, because the measles can spread very quickly and easily and can have bad outcomes. The council approved the replacement of the damaged Chatsworth Sand Dome, interestingly enough, for 1.8 million, which is 3 times what we were proposing for our sand dome here in Southgate. So keep that in mind. Huge.
It's huge.
It's huge. And we also endorsed a motion to form a municipal services task force that will work with staff in the lower tier municipalities to explore when there may be municipal services that we could do jointly. So there will be nothing off the table, but it was very interesting, the report showing just how much the county and municipalities work together through whether that's monthly clerks meetings, CAO meetings, treasurer meetings, HR meetings. The roads departments work closely, planning departments work closely. So we do a lot together, and there may be enhancements that we can explore. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Members privilege. Oh, go ahead.
Hi, just-
Monica?
Thank you, Chair. Just for the county report, I just remember, I'm not sure if it was this very last one, but I think there was a request to have Agnes McPhail Day recognized. And it was not, it didn't go through.
Correct.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, that was in my opinion, a big miss, unfortunately. And I read the reasoning, but I wish that would have gone through. So that was just my comment for Grey County. I'm happy that it at least was considered, and I do hope in the future that it will go through.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to members privilege. I'll start off by saying that the Optimist Club had a tremendous Maple Fest weekend. The weather was outstanding. I had a lot of comments from people about the weather, and I said, well, we phoned ahead, and clearly the answer was, or the call was answered. I believe, and we haven't got solid numbers yet, but I believe it was a record for the club. So I just wanted to take the opportunity as a member of the Optimist Club to thank all the volunteers from this room and all those that attended or had the opportunity to attend, because it was a great weekend. So thank you. Anybody else? Barb?
If I can elaborate on
Sure,
that, I
absolutely.
did get some numbers this morning, and there were over 3,000 guests through the gate, not including the children that were accompanying them, and the equivalent of 300 volunteers over the weekend. It was, in fact, a record-breaking Maple Fest.
Indeed. I'm getting hand signals from staff here that we're getting perilously close to 4 o'clock. So anybody else have any members privilege they want to talk about before we do the confirming bylaw and get out of here? Joan, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh yeah, let me hurry up and get out of here. I must say I had a wonderful time at Maple Fest. I was serving up pancakes, and I saw Councillor Rice and Councillor Ferguson in the line, and I was just about to tell them that I'm not serving them, but you know, they were working hard, so I had to. And of course, I passed Mr. Mayor, and I told him that I'm not paying to go in. Since he's at the door, he should pay for me. But I did have a great time there. It was really good fun and good food. And of course, somebody was in the kitchen teaching me how to flip a pancake. I'm not calling any names, but yeah, it was a great thank you.
Don't
Thank
quit
you.
your day job.
Thank you, Joan. Anyone else? Okay, thank you for all that. Confirming bylaw. Someone move. Barb and Jim. All those in favor? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Jim, seconded by Monica. All those in favor? We're adjourned at 3:30.